What's going on, guys? Welcome to another JDA Talks Comics streams. Very excited to be with you guys here today. We are doing very well on this channel, getting close to 1,000 subs. And of course, the goal of streaming is to try to get these watch hours up. So even if you are not that interested in Ditko, please put this on in the background. Just let it run. I appreciate it. But we're going to talk about Steve Ditko, why he's probably the most important comic creator ever. And then, of course, get into how to collect the 1950s. And I'm going to do this for every decade. I might split the 1960s into two parts, because there's really his Marvel stuff than his other stuff. And it's really a difficult thing at that point. The 70s, of course, and then the 80s, and then the 90s, and the 2000s, and beyond. So we'll do a long series of this, and he's done so much work. The guy was very prolific. If you do not know about Steve Ditko, he was like a kind of a recluse in a way, in that he was a hard worker. Recluse is a bad word because it makes him sound like he's this like hermit or whatever, but he liked to work hard. He was very passionate about his work. He was an objectivist. And so he was very influenced by things like The Fountainhead. And so in that book, you would read about the hero in there who just wanted to work on his architecture, just like really was into the work. And that's what he wanted to do. He didn't want to go out to fan conventions, didn't want to be out there being bombastic like Stan Lee. And he wrote a lot of essays about how somebody should actually care about their work and about the comic book industry and its destructiveness in general. So a lot of good stuff out of that. You can learn a lot about him from this collection here. It's black and white, and this is a hailing to the Mr. A calling card, which is black and white, because there's either good or there's evil. And Ditko says there's no in between, and you're doing good or you're doing evil. That's it. And so there's no shades of gray. And he liked to lambaste people who talked about shades of gray. And this collection is called Ditko Unleashed. That's the slipcase. It comes with two books in here. This is Ditko Unleashed, an American Hero. It's like a pictographic sort of history of his work. I think it's severely out of print and hard to find. Like usual, we can look up eBay prices on stuff like this. Let's see if we can find a Ditko Unleashed here. Ditko Unleashed. We'll find out what this goes for on eBay. I think it's ridiculous if it. Yeah, this one's looks like $175. First printing. This is not this one. So this is not the slipcase edition. Lowest one you can get. This is actually not bad. You can get it for $140 if you're interested in Ditko, like I am. It's probably the best retrospective of his life. I have several books on Ditko, and this is a really good one. And the second book that it comes with is very important to this stream. It is a checklist of all of his work he ever made. So somebody put this together. Great stuff. And it starts in 1953, where he did a couple things. He did a book for Black Magic #3, just short things. Did a paper romance for Daring Love #1, and a book and a comic for Strange Fantasy, along with some Captain 3D, which was done with pencils by Jack Kirby. Mort Meskin did the inks. Mort Meskin was a big influence on Ditko, and his assistant. He did some more work in 1954, a bunch of short comics. 1955, I believe, as I recall, it's been a while since I've read his biography stuff, that he had a health problem, had to go back home, couldn't actually make a living in comics for a second. And so he only had one short story out in 1955. And then 1956, he really started busting his butt for Charlton and Atlas, which then became Marvel Comics at the time. And so there's a lot of these stories out there. I've got a lot of this in a spreadsheet. And not really a spreadsheet. It's a Word document, not a spreadsheet. And I call it I've labeled it spreadsheet. But let me open this up here to make it handy for you guys. And it's called Checklist Chronological. So let's pull this up. My checklist chronological. Now right here. So what I've got And the yellow, I went through and did some highlights of what I have. And I have these in different collected editions. So I don't have this Strange Fantasy Hair Yi. And the reason this was not collected in the original Fantagraphics versions of the Ditko archives, and again, this just kind of mirrors this Ditko checklist. It's very cool book. The reason it wasn't in there is because only some of the panels were done by Ditko. It was not a full Ditko work, and so they didn't collect that in there, which is kind of a bummer because, like, if he did do some of the work, that should kind of be in those archives. So we're going to get into that right now, and that is the first stopping point for our collection. I got them over here. I didn't pull them out. Why didn't I pull them out? Because I have a bad prepper. This is not a good prep stream. Okay. The first series of collections for Ditko is going to be the Fantagraphics Steve Ditko Archives volumes. And as good as these are, this is some of my favorite collections ever made. 3, 4, volume 1, 2. Let's get them all here for you. All 6 volumes here. Very heavy to hold up here. And you can see them right here as best you can. And those are still not all the way complete. There's some missing stories. And I have no idea why they chose to do what stories. This is the original one called Strange Suspense, which is named after the comic he was working on. And you can see it's a hardcover version, Ditko Archives Volume 1. Now this collects a lot of his very early work. It's got a nice little intro, and it's got the work from Charlton Comics only, and all these are only Charlton Comics, from 1953 up to 1955, when he kind of like stopped making comics. These are his pre-code comics then, because after that would be post-code for Comics Code. Had to get, are they still in print? I don't know. Let's go to Amazon and find out. This is going to be our little mission for you guys. So this is the easiest way to collect it, whether it's in print or not. And before we get too far into that, and if you guys are not aware, I'm a comic creator myself. My name is John Delarose, and welcome to the channel if you're new here. This is Flying Sparks, which is my superhero epic. And of course, it follows a hero who's dating a villain under her secret identity. I try to bring back some of that real hero's journey that you had from old comics like this, and try to be very, very faithful to what comics used to be before the modern times. So I hope you'll enjoy this. It's 5 volumes long, which is 15 issues. Really good superhero fare. And then I've got my other stuff on here too. Cosmic Warrior, which is kind of a love letter to like the John Carter style stuff. Deus Vult, kind of a love letter to like the Conan stuff of yore. Dynamite Thor, which is a repurposed hero from the 1950s that I reinvigorated myself because I like classic comics. And of course, my science fiction Overmind concept, which is a love letter to like retro science fiction stuff that you'd read in this stuff. So all this stuff is on my store. It ships immediately because I've got everything in stock right now. So please check this out. Here is, this is not a great spot to go to Geek Avenger. I need to redo my website. Let's use this for now. Because this is really the comprehensive way I've got everything for Flying Sparks. So let's go to Amazon and look for this. Ditko Strange Suspense Archives Volume 1. Let's see how this goes. Ditko Archives Volume 1. The hardcover is not in print, but it's not a bad price for this. $35, $32. It looks like it's not super expensive, and there's about 10 of them on there. So they are doable. They did do a soft cover version. This is the soft cover. They put a different cover on the soft cover for some reason. And those are pretty readily available from like $12 used, it looks like. So those are not too bad to get for this first volume. Now, as I mentioned, this covers his 1950s work up until 1955. And then it goes mostly in chronological order. Now Charlton actually had a system where they had code numbers for all their stories. This one's really hard to, and so one of them would be S0339 from February 1957. For some reason, like they go out of order a little bit in these volumes. This is Unexplored Worlds Volume 2. And this is when he comes back after his injury or sickness or whatever into comic books. But it goes right into 1957, and it's because they don't publish them in order that they were created, I believe. So some of this stuff has April 56, but he had a lot of stuff that actually came out in 1956, and all of it was published. Everything of Ditko's was published in these volumes, whether it be here or whether it be, did volume 3 have more from 1956? I don't know what they decided to do with the order of this. I've tried to contact Blake Bell, who did this. Most of this is 1957 also, but all of his 56 short stories are collected, which is good news. And I'm going to get to his Marvel stuff after this. I'm going to go through the Fantagraphics before we get to the Marvel stuff. Now, what I noticed is there's some odd stuff that didn't get collected in the Fantagraphics stuff, and I don't know why. Because again, I wished Blake Bell, who curated these collections, would have talked to me about this. I couldn't get him to talk. I tried. But there's a Cheyenne Kid cover, which never made it into here. And then there's a Do You Believe in Nightmares comic book, which I think I actually bought the comic of. There is a printing version of this. Do I have it anywhere? I thought I had it somewhere. I might not have it on my shelf. But there's a group called, what's the publisher's name? I've got his other books. I will get it. Figure it out. There's a group called Guandanaland Comics, and they put together these. They're not really as nice as the Fantagraphics. You see those hardcovers, which are all formatted nice, and he just grabs the scans and literally just puts the scans into a book. It's nice because there's a lot of stuff that doesn't get printed, and if you are missing some of the Steve Ditko stories in here, there's not even a. I don't even think there's a. There's not even a table of contents in here. But I know some stuff didn't get into those Fantagraphic books, so I picked up this because Unusual Tales was a one that didn't get all the books reprinted from Fantagraphics. So I grabbed that St. John issue, which was Do You Believe in Nightmares? And I have that. Now, some of the stuff isn't in Guandanaland stuff. Mysteries of Unexplored Worlds, I'm not sure if we have those. Out of This World, some stuff's missing. Maybe I stopped doing it. So some of the stuff got in here and some of it didn't. And most of that 57 and 58 stuff is going to be in the Mysterious Traveler Volume 3 or the Unexplained Worlds Volume 2. Now, Volume 4, Impossible Tales for Fantagraphics, gets into 1957 to 1958. So if you want to get into 1957, 1958, Ditko's really refined his craft by this point. So he's got like his style down. He's got like his sort of way he's doing things. He's done so many stories at this point. It's very distinctly Ditko by Impossible Tales. I think if you're going to pick up one volume, I'd probably go with this one just because it's right in the middle of that heyday of the Charlton stuff. Really good stuff right here. And then as he goes along, Dripping with Fear, he does a lot of horror stuff, but there's post-code horror stuff, so it's a little not the same as earlier. And this gets all the way into 58 and 59. And then Outer Limits Volume 6 is the final volume of the Fantagraphics collections. And this gets into 59. Now, for some reason, they stop at May of 59, and there's some stuff that never made it into the collections from Fantagraphics. And I don't know why. Like I said, they haven't really talked to me about this. I tried to talk to the editor of those books. I'm not sure if he's still with Fantagraphics or what. Let me find my Ditko deal. Unreprinted stuff. So I made a list, which, yeah, I will have to. Starting in the background here. Sorry. Hit the like button. Make sure we get more people in here to watch this too, because we're trying to get up watch hours on the channel. So what wasn't reprinted, according to what I have, and I need to double check all this, was, as I mentioned, Do You Believe in Nightmares from St. John, some comics from Out of This World, Space Adventures, Mysteries of Unexplored Worlds, more Space Adventures. Then it gets into Space War. And I believe Space War actually gets into the 1960s, and that might be why it's not reprinted. But they stopped at the end of the 50s for this, and we'll get into that space war in the 60s, I think. As I recall, that's where it was. Let me check on my other sheet. Space war. Let's see. So Mysteries of Unexplored Worlds in the 50s goes up to number 10. Oh, let me get to 59 because I was in 58. World Fantasy Unusual Tales, Tales of Mysterious let's see, Space Adventures 31 is the last one in the 1950s that was published. So Space Adventures 32. So these would be 60s. So everything here is unreprinted stuff from the 50s that never showed up. Do You Believe in Nightmares, which had 6 stories from him. And this is available via the Gondwana Land. So if you just go like this and you go to Amazon, you can get this. Do You Believe in Nightmares? Do You Believe in Nightmares? Gondwana Land. And it's a single issue from Gondwana Land Comics. And I do have this somewhere. I just don't have it here. So this you'll need because Fantagraphics for some reason did not reprint. Oh no, it's out of stock. Oh, you guys are screwed. Sorry. Why did they take this off? What the heck? Wow. Okay, well you guys are Gondwana Land. Nothing. Okay. Well, sorry guys. I have a copy of this, and that means maybe I should make a print edition of this myself. Jeez. Gosh. So sorry about that. That is out of print, but hard to find at that point. Sorry, guys. So that's all the Charlton work that Ditko did in the 1950s, but he also worked for Atlas Comics, and it was very much. Oh, this is not Amazon. Hold on. This is Amazon SG. What country is SG? Do You Believe in Nightmares? Gondwana Land. There might be a rights issue for nothing on regular. Number 2, Golden Age horror comic. Number 1, number 2. Here it is. Classic horror 50s comics. Here it is from Gondwana Land. This is it for Amazon, so you can get this still in the United States. That was a different country. Sorry, guys. Not too bad. About $10 for the issue. I think it's 30-something pages. So about what you'll get off of Kickstarter or whatever. So you can collect that. There's a few stories, like I said, are uncollected. And I'll have to go verify that that's the case. Whew. Yeah, that made me nervous there. I was like, oh, that sucks for everybody if that's the case. Next is going to be the Masters of Suspense Omnibus. So the Fantagraphic had all its Charlton work, and then all of the Atlas Marvel work was redone and remastered, and it was beautifully put together in a series of 2 omnibuses. Masters of Suspense 1 here, and then Masters of Suspense 2, which goes all the way up through Amazing Fantasy 15 in the 60s. So some of the stuff in the 50s still is in Volume 2. But some of the stuff in the is in Volume 1. And this is pre all the superhero stuff. So Ditko started the superhero stuff with Spider-Man, and he did some stuff with DC, which I'll get to later because it's not in the 1950s. But to cover all of his 1950s work, it was all short stories for all of these companies. And all this stuff was contained right here. All of his Atlas work was completely reprinted in these 2 omnibuses, and they're beautiful. I don't have them on me right now, but I do have them, and I loved reading these. So these are great collections. I think because the restoration was really done well, I prefer these to the Fantagraphics stuff. I'd start here before going to the Fantagraphics stuff because in his work for Charlton had Joe Gill writing a lot of it, which is great. The stuff with Stan Lee, you'll find a lot of it to be fun, but then it gets kind of formulaic because Stan Lee was just cranking this stuff out. So you'll find that there's a lot of good stuff, but then Stan Lee would rehash plots a lot of the time. And but there's also some stuff that's very clearly Ditko plots, like he doesn't get credited on the writing or anything like that because it's Stan Lee. But you can tell which ones are Ditko plots, which ones are Stan Lee plots. And then The stuff for Charlton's a lot less formulaic, but the quality varies because they're not as tight as the Stanley writing is, because they just had like a sort of grindhouse going on there at Atlas/Marvel at the time. So very easy to get through the 1950s for Ditko. Now I might also note there was a collection, because these got not reprinted in the Fantagraphics for some reason too. I'm not sure if any of these are from the 50s, so I'm gonna have to look, see if there's a table of contents. Let me check here. Okay. I don't know. They're not in the early 50s talk. Let me see if it mentions where these were printed to begin with. These look later. I think the let's see. June 1955. Oh, so some of these are in the 50s. Okay, From Here to Insanity. From Here. Oh, this is From Here to Insanity. Okay. I think, let me look in volume 1 to see if this got into, I don't know if you need this or not, or if it's supplemental. So I'm going to have to check and see if this book reprints the same stuff, or if there's anything missing here. So 1955, From Here to Insanity. So it does collect both of those. Now, this book is called Ditko's Shorts, and it came out from Yowie Press a while back. And there is some stuff that did not get reprinted. I know that in here. I just don't know which is which. So, I mean, I don't have that like detailed of a spreadsheet. 1, 2, and 3 page comics only. And so some of that did not make it into those Fantagraphics volumes. I don't know if it's stuff from the 50s or not. But I do know this goes all the way up through, what's the last ones we got? September 70. So the stuff from the 70s did not get reprinted at all, ever. And so that's why I bought that volume. But I don't know if it matters with the 50s or not. Let's see how badly out of print this is, because I think this one's badly out of print. Let's see. Ditko's Shorts. Not too bad. Okay, cool. This is not too bad to get either. So this is the last thing you'll need to make sure you get everything from Ditko, because some of this stuff has not been reprinted. But again, I don't know whether it's only 50 stuff that has not been reprinted at all, or if it's 60s. So to go back as a recap here, because we are just doing the 1950s today, Ditko worked at Charlton Comics and Atlas Comics pretty much exclusively. He did a couple different things for St. John and a couple things for Jack Kirby, but not very much. Just a couple stories here and there in the 1950s. He did a series of short stories almost always. Ditko liked doing shorts. If you look at his later work, he pretty much reverted to only doing shorts when he was not working for other companies. And you need the Fantagraphics Ditko Archives volumes 1 through 6. And you need the Marvel Masters of Suspense Omnibus volumes 1 and 2. And you'll need the Nightmare Story. What was it called? Let's see. Do you believe in nightmares? I think it was Do You Believe in Nightmares, number 1, not number 2. He didn't do number 2. And then you need the Ditko's Shorts. And those are the books you need from the 1950s to complete your Ditko collection. And that brings us up to the 1950s. Thank you. I don't have super chats on here. I am a ways from monetization, which I appreciate the support there. Best way you can possibly support me is to either get on my Subscribe Star, because I'm going to be producing content and comics over there, right here, and a lot of exclusive comics and stuff coming down the pipeline. We're a little behind on the art right now, or to go to my backer kit page and check out my Flying Sparks volumes and my other comics. So I appreciate people checking out the books. Thanks, Mike. And yeah, so we're not at super chats yet. We're going to get that at the 1,000 mark, and I'm trying to do some streams to increase watch hours. I hope this is a useful thing for collectors out there. Not a lot of people go through and do these like old school collection sort of things of different things. They do, there's reading orders of like Batman and things like that. But when it comes to like Ditko or Kirby or Wally Wood or whatever, you don't really get that sort of deal. So I'll hold these up again. These are my Fantagraphics archives of Steve Ditko, volumes 1 through 6. There is 2 Marvel omnibuses called Masters of Suspense, which I don't have on me, Ditko's shorts, and then there's a single issue from Gondwanaland called Do You Believe in Nightmares, to collect all of this stuff. And the 60s is going to be interesting when we get to that one, because I might just split it into Marvel work and other work, 2 different videos, because otherwise it might take too long. Because Ditko did a lot for Marvel. I mean, he was a workhorse. He really was. And then, of course, on the other front, like the Charlton stuff is a lot also. And oddly, none of that 60s Charlton stuff, he made it into those Fantagraphics books. I don't know why they stopped at 1959. The copyright goes all the way up to if you're talking public domain, goes up to 1968. So you can publish anything with copyright free up to 1968, pretty much, from Charlton Comics. But they didn't. They just went to 1959, stopped there, and they didn't even do all of 59. They were like missing some stories from that too. So odd choices. I wish there was a volume 7 from Fantagraphics, or a volume. I think they probably need 2 more volumes to get all that Charlton work up to when he really stopped, because he was working for Marvel almost exclusively. But there's some other stuff from the 60s that is really weird too, and uncollected also. So we'll see how this goes. Yeah, it's a interesting tale. And Ditko worked really hard. He died in 2018. So he was working just solely on his own comics. And this is, even though we're only doing the 50s, I will show you what happens on Kickstarter with Ditko comics, because a lot of people don't know about this. And they're still coming out with stuff today. Steve Ditko. So Robin Snyder has books right here by Steve Ditko, and this one was 2015. And he would come out with his own original comics over and over on Kickstarter. If you look at this, like, it was very odd. You only get like 112 backers, and I never understood that. So he's up to 173 now with the newest modern version, which I think I missed this. A lot of these are the new ones, especially after his death, or a lot of them are anthologies and reprints and stuff. But there were some drawings and things like that got done even in recent issues. One of them was called The Bat, which never was published before. And so you get this stuff, and it's like, oh, sometimes there's a surprise where it's like a brand new thing that never got released before. So he did all this with Robin Snyder for 20 years, and there's a ton of different stuff out there. And I'll go through that when I get into the 90s and 2000s, because there's kind of semi-collected editions of most of this. So it's pretty cool. But watch out for these. Robin Snyder still does these Kickstarters. Like the last one was recently, obviously. And this was, I think, February was when this was done. And it looks like we've filled the last few orders now, up to date at the end of our Kickstarter campaign. We appreciate your support. So you can also get this on, Robin's got a website, if you missed the Kickstarters, called this one. And they reprint a lot of the old Charlton stuff too, which is fun. And if you go to Ditko in print, Robin's a boomer, guys. So you got to email Robin and be like, I want to buy this. And you got to go through here, and you can get some different stuff. I recommend the Cheyenne Kid one was a really fun one, because it had a lot of his Western stories in there from old stuff. And Robin also curates a lot of old comics that Robin dealt with. Robin was an editor at DC Comics and all these other places back in the 80s and all that. And so you get some cool stuff. You see a lot of these are sold out now, these original printings. But a lot of the stuff comes back into print as well. So you have to kind of go through and kind of know what you're talking about. I'll do a full stream for this, for like where to start reading the Robin Snyder and Ditko stuff at some point once we get to, like, I guess the 2000s probably. And that's cool. Sweet. Thank you, guys. So this has been about a half an hour, which I appreciate getting all the watch time for you guys here. And yeah, I like to definitely demonstrate that we know our comics around here, because, there's a lot of channels out there that talk comics and don't know their comics so much. And there's a lot of people in the industry who know less about comics than we do over here. And we have the best community for comics out there, period. We have a weekly reading club, too, in our Discord. It's not all Ditko or anything like that. I'm going to put the Discord in the chat. Next week, we are doing Thunderbolts by Kurt Busiek and Mark Bagley, issues 1 through 12. We did Fables last week, and we did Fist of the North Star the week before that. So we get just a good breadth of just random stuff that's mostly classic at this point. But I'd love to have you guys there joining our book club and reading with us. We discuss these on Sundays. And thank you guys so much for being there. Thank you for supporting our books and supporting our channel here. Make sure you tell your friends about this. Hit the like and subscribe button. And thanks for giving us the watch hours here so we can get up to that 4,000 watch hours we need. JC, I do it at 11 a.m. Pacific for now, because that's when it works. Cool. Have a good day, everybody. And thank you for watching this. I hope this was informative and useful to you. Good luck collecting, and we'll see you soon.